Most people using OpenClaw right now are running one agent trying to do everything, whether that's writing code, checking emails, managing files, or handling social media. They're trying to do this all in one, and they're wondering why it keeps losing context, forgetting instructions, and going off the rails. The fix isn't just a better prompt, but it's also a better architecture. So in this video, I'm breaking down the 3 methods for building multi-agent teams in OpenClaw, when to use each one, and what actually happens under the hood. And at the end, I'm going to show you my actual running system. So I have 5 agents working as a lead gen pipeline, and that is managed through a custom mission control I built using Cloud Code. And I can see every agent's status, the token usage, and also the costs in real time. So stay to the end for that. So most people using OpenClaw right now are running one agent trying to do everything, whether that's writing code, checking emails, managing files, or handling social media. It's just all in one. And they wonder why it keeps losing context, or why it forgets instructions, and why it just goes off the rails. So the fix isn't a better prompt, it's a better architecture. So whether you're just getting started or you've been running a single agent and you're hitting a wall, then this video is definitely for you. So we'll cover why multi-agents beat single agents. We'll then discuss the 3 methods, and we'll then discuss what is actually inside an agent workspace. And then finally, I'll give a demo. So let's just get into it. So before we get into the how, let's just talk about the why very quickly. Because if one agent works fine, then why complicate things? So here's the problem. Well, actually there's 4 problems. The first one is context overload. So every agent has a limited context window, and that's how much information it can hold in its brain at once. So when you load one agent up with your codebase or your email integrations, it will start drowning, and it will forget instructions and hallucinate. And this is how it makes mistakes, and essentially it just doesn't narrow down its focus. The second problem is prompt pollution. So when your single agent system prompt tries to cover 10 different jobs, the instructions start to conflict. So your be concise rule for email drafting will fight with your be thorough rule for code review. So the agent doesn't know which personality to use and when. The issue number 3 is that there's just no parallelism. So what does that mean? Well, a single agent does one thing at a time, and while it's writing docs, it can't review code. So while it's scraping leads, it can't verify emails, and everything queues up. And then the last problem is what I like to call blast radius. So if your one agent gets confused whilst it's completing a task, everything will just stop. So there's no isolation, and one bad response can just derail your entire workflow. So just think about it this way. Would you hire one person to be your developer, your accountant, your marketer, and your customer support rep? Or would you rather hire, let's say, 4 different specialists? So this same logic actually applies to AI agents. Okay, so there are 3 ways to set up multi-agent teams in OpenClaw, and they're not competing approaches. Most advanced setups use a combination of all 3. The first one is Workspace Switching. So you just have different personas in the same workspace. So like switching hats on the same employee. And this is best for agents that share the same project files. The second method is isolated agents. So it's just fully separate workspaces. Each agent gets their own desk, their own files, their own tools. And this is best when agents need true separation. And then the last one is what I call spawn and report. So this is just temporary workers. So for example, a parent agent will create a child agent, and it will do a specific job. It will report back to the parent, and then it just disappears. And this is best for one-off tasks and parallel processing. So let me break down each one. Workspace switching is the simplest way to get started, and here's how it works. So in step 1, inside your workspace, you can create a folder for each specialist agent. The folder name will just describe what the agent does. So if you want an email agent, you can just call it check email. And if you want a code reviewer, you can just call it code review, and so on. So you can see the folder structure on the screen right now. Step 2, inside each folder, you write a markdown file that serves as the agent's entire personality and instruction set. So this is the agent's brain for that specific job, and the key here is focus. So you can see on the right the check email markdown file. So it will define the agent as an email management specialist, and it has clear rules. For example, never send emails without confirmation, or keep summaries under 2 sentences. So this email agent doesn't know anything about your code base. It doesn't know about your deployment pipeline. It only knows email, and that's the power of specialization. Step 3 is to set up routing commands in your agent's markdown file. So this is your main agent configuration. You essentially add rules that tell OpenClaw, when I say this phrase, load this sub-agent's instructions and switch context. So when you type check email, it loads the email specialist. And if you type code review, it will load the code reviewer. And then you can set up as many routes as you want. And just like that, your project folder becomes an organized hub of specialists. You switch between them just with a single command. So when should you use this method? Well, this method is ideal when all your agents work within the same project context. If they share the same files, if they share the same repository or the same general environment, then it's a very good use case for this method. So you're basically just creating specialized modes for your main agent. Okay, but what if you need an agent that lives in a completely different world? So isolated agents is the one most people don't know about, and it's where things get really powerful. Instead of keeping sub-agents inside your project, each agent gets their own completely separate workspace. They'll have a different directory, different files, different memory, and different tools, so it's fully isolated. So here, for step 1, you can just run the command OpenClaw agents add, and then the agent name in your terminal. So if you want a lead scraper, you can just type in OpenClaw agents add Jimmy, and OpenClaw will then create the agent, and it sets up a brand new workspace, and then it registers it in your agent roster. Then for step 2, you just need to configure the workspace. So once the agent is created, you navigate to its workspace and set it up however you want. It will have its own identity file, its own memory, its own set of tools, and it's just a blank state. So you can point it at a different code base, you can give it different API keys, and you can set up different security permissions. Then step 3, you can connect shared data between agents. So this is how agents handoff work. You can see on the slide, there's a shared handoff folder. Agent A will finish their job and drop the output there. Agent B will then pick it up, and then Jimmy outputs the raw leads JSON file. Dev will then pick it up and outputs verified leads.json. And then Kai picks that up and outputs a personalized leads JSON file. So, and then the final agent Jordan will then upload it. So there's a clean data flow and no cross-contamination. So you can see on the slide, in my lead gen system, I have 4 isolated agents. Jimmy with Appify for scraping, Dev for Neverbounce for email verification, then Kai, which is our web scraper for creating icebreakers and personalization, and then finally Jordan, which will upload those icebreakers into an instantly campaign. So each one has their own workspace path, their own tools, their own specific job. And if Jimmy breaks, then Dev will keep on working. So they're completely independent of each other. So please use this method when you need true separation. So there's different tools, different file access, different security levels, or even when they're working on entirely different projects. Now, spawn and report is how you scale, and it's different from the other two because these aren't permanent agents, they're just temporary workers. So here's how it works. So look at the diagram on the screen, and you can see your parent agent, which in this case is Dev, will receive a task, which is, let's say, to verify 500 emails. So instead of doing them one by one, the parent spawns 5 sub-agents or temporary workers, and will split the work amongst them. So worker 1 will get the emails 1 to 100, worker 2 will get the emails 101 to 200, and so on. You get the idea. And they just all run in parallel. So each sub-agent will have a temporary session, and they can read from the parent's workspace and inherit the parent's skills, but they don't have their own persistent state. They do the job and report back the results to their parent, and the session auto archives. So it's essentially like handing someone a sticky note, and you just tell them to do it and they come back. So the parent then will merge the results, and let's say you end up with 399 valid emails and 101 have been removed. It will then pass on to the next agent in the pipeline. So if you look at the bottom of this slide, it's just 5 times faster, and that's the difference between 500 sequential calls and 5 parallel batches of 100. It's just incredibly powerful when you do batch processing. So use spawn and report when tasks are one-off, when you can parallelize them, or when you need to scale one agent's work temporarily. So just think of it as hiring temporary workers for a specific gig. So the question then becomes, which method do you use? I put together this decision matrix and let me just walk you through it. So the workspace switching, you can use it when agents share the same project and files and you want a quick persona changes. And it's just like different departments in the same office. And it's simplest to set up. It's because it's just folders or markdown files, and you just type in a command and the agent will switch the persona. The other method, isolated agents, use this when agents need different tools or different API keys or permissions, or when they're working on separate projects entirely. So enterprise grade, each agent is truly independent and like separate offices in different buildings essentially. So you can create them by running the command OpenClaw agents add in your terminal. Now the third method are spawn and report. So use this for one-off tasks, for batch processing or anything that can be parallelized. So there's no persistent state and you just do the job and it disappears. It's just like a sticky note. They do the thing and they come back, and it's 5 times faster than sequential. And honestly, most advanced setups use all three together. And you'll have a workspace switching for quick persona changes within a project, isolated agents for the workloads that need full separation, and spawn and report for scaling when you need to process a lot of data fast. So my recommendation would be to start with the workspace switching and then set up 2 or 3 specialists and get comfortable with the workflow. Then when you hit limits, you can just add isolated agents. And when you need to scale, you just layer in the spawn and report. Just a quick thing, if you want to skip the setup and get a done for you version of this, I have a school community where you can get access to Atlas, the orchestrator agent running my system, which is essentially the CEO coordinating all the other agents, plus the full module library, security configurations, agent templates, just all of it. And the link for the school community is in the description below. Now here's the part that nobody talks about. So what is actually inside an agent? Because when you create an agent in OpenClaw, it generates a workspace with a bunch of files. And most tutorials just skip over this, but these files are the agent. So you need to understand them. And that is the difference between an agent that works and one that doesn't. So you can see the full file tree on the left of the slide and what each file does on the right. So let me walk you through the most important ones. The first one is the identity markdown file. So this is the agent's name, personality, expertise, and communication style. So just think of it as a job description that the AI internalizes. So you can see the example. You are Jimmy, a lead scraping specialist. You are methodical, data-driven, and thorough. And that's how specific it should be. Then we have the SOUL markdown file. So these are just the agent's core behavioral principles and hard binaries. They're just used to tell the agent what it will never do. You can add some rules that can't be overridden. Now, if the identity is the job description, then you can think of the SOUL as the company policy. For example, never send emails without confirmation, never delete files without approval. We then have the router markdown file. Now, this is just a natural language dispatch for rules. So this maps keywords to agents. You can see the example, research, analyze goes to Alex, whereas write content goes to Maya, whereas code build goes to dev. So this is what makes workspace switching work under the hood. And then you have your supervisor markdown file, which is just the pipeline orchestration. So this defines the sequence, Jimmy to dev to Kai to Jordan, so which is just essentially scrape, verify, personalize, and upload. And it's just the assembly line logic. Then we have our memory markdown file, which is just for persistent memory across conversations. Now your agent remembers what happened last session, and your scraping agent remembers which niches it has already covered, and your verifier remembers which domains tend to bounce, and they learn over time. Then we have the tools markdown file. So here we have what tools and APIs the agent can access, and here's the key. Each agent can have different tools. So Jimmy gets Appify, Dev will get Never Bounce, and Jordan will get the Instantly. So essentially you apply the rule of least privilege here, so they only get the tools they need. Then we have the brain directory. So this is just a shared knowledge base, and it's just a bunch of markdown files with context that all agents inherit. So in mine I have a about me markdown file with who I am and what I'm building. Then I also have a brand voice markdown file for how I want agents to communicate, and a working preferences markdown file for how I like to work. So you can update your brain file once, and every agent then gets that to update. So there's no need to edit each one individually, and that is essentially how you scale without losing consistency. Then there's the skills directory. So this is just for installable capabilities from the marketplace. Okay, so that's enough of slides. So this is my mission control. I built it using Claude Code, and it's for my OpenClaw agents. So it's just a custom dashboard, and you can see my agents listed in the organizational chart here. So here you can see the lead gen pipeline with Atlas at the very top, which is the orchestrator or the CEO, who just oversees the entire operation. Then as the pipeline goes down, you can see Jimmy, which is our lead scraping agent that uses Apify via its API. Then in step 2, you can see Dev, which is essentially our agent that we use to verify emails using the Never Bounce API. And then there's Kai, which is just used to pull the information from LinkedIn and the company website to create personalized cold email icebreakers using Claude. And then finally we have Jordan, which is just an agent which we use to then get those icebreakers and those emails and put them up into a instantly campaign. So each one of these is an isolated agent with their own workspace, their own tools, and their own memory. And they hand off work through a shared folder. So Jimmy will output a lead list, the dev will pick it up and it verifies the emails. Then it passes the clean list to Kai, and Kai will personalize it, which will then pass it to Jordan to upload it to instantly. So just like an assembly line. So you can click on any agent to see their responsibilities, and everything is just defined clearly. And then there's the usage page, which just tracks the token usage and costs, both for Claude Code and my OpenClaw agents. And this is just how I keep my costs under control, and I can see exactly which agents are using the most tokens and that are optimizing accordingly. I was also able to add a YouTube integration into my own mission control. And I also added a very cool feature where I can just pull in unreplied comments from YouTube, and then I can just get a large language model to suggest some replies, like Gemini, which will read the YouTube transcripts URL and read the comment, and then it gives me 3 different replies to suggest. And if I click on reply, it will just fire that reply into YouTube under the comment, which is pretty cool. So that's how you build multi-agent teams in OpenClaw, 3 methods. And you just need to start simple and then add complexity as soon as you need it. Now, if you want to go deeper and if you want to access Atlas, the orchestrator running my system, plus full agent templates and security configurations, I have a skill community and the link is in the description. Drop a comment below telling me which method you're going to try first or what agents you want to build. And yeah, if this video was helpful, then please subscribe. In the meantime, go watch these videos. I tested every memory plugin and found the 3 that actually work for OpenClaw. And I also broke down the 3 tools that make OpenClaw actually functional. So the links are right here, and I'll catch you in the next one.